everyone, welcome to a series review for Bubuki Buranki since it ended a while back. During the holidays, most of us were a little busy. I was here and there with family, so some of the stuff got delayed on the last bit of the fall stuff. But yeah, I have Irene with me.
Hi guys.
Yeah, but it's been a while, but yeah, we're just gonna talk about Bubuki Buranki. The series since it wrapped up and it's officially done for now. I don't know if they're doing another season. They have one planned, but who knows? But so I guess generally, When did you, I guess when you heard about this series, what did you think about it? Or maybe did you see a trailer that got you interested? And I think for me, I think I've seen like promotional artwork on News Network talking about it, how this is going to be a full-blown CGI show. And I think at the
hmm
time, the only full CGI show they did was Knights of Sidonia, I think, at the time. And then Buki Baraki came
Well,
out, I think, after that.
yeah, I think there was one with with some ships at one point, the living ships. I remember that show. But yeah, there hasn't been a lot of like completely CGI shows out. Mostly because it's interesting that the technology isn't quite there, like to make it very interesting. At least on in Japan's area, the things of that technology, and I guess the budget isn't there for it either to make it that long.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's as far as CGI shows go, was much better than a lot of the older ones that are its predecessors were.
Right, yeah. Over here in America, we only have like the only current CGI show airing right now is on, I guess Disney for kids, whatever, is Star Wars Rebels, which is a full CGI show. Even that show has there are points where they dip down animation. It goes down, you can tell in certain episodes, but then other episodes are like all the budget, but obviously since it's Disney, there's more of a budget. But like you
hmm
just said, being from Japan, Burik Rocky, they don't really have like the it studio that is the CGI, the ones that can do all the cool CGI. I mean, over here we have like Pixar and Disney and a bunch of different studios that can do these type of shows easily, no problem. But Buki Baraki, I think season one, you can tell there's a little bit of that there where you can see there's problems with some of the animation. I guess first half, but the second half is that you can tell they've polished all the things. They've gotten better, and but yeah, for me, I think just CG. A lot of people are kind of like turned away from the show. I think originally in the beginning because they
Yeah.
weren't like really sold on it yet. But I think for me, just seeing the promotional artwork got me curious enough to watch, or at least a little bit of the first couple episodes, and eventually I got hooked. But yeah, I guess
Yeah,
yeah. Go ahead.
I would say like I don't mind CG as long as it's not like blaring, but like the story was always more important to me, but I can see why some people would be turned off like in the beginning, especially with certain stilted movements. I remember the show. I still can't remember its name, but it had like the they were like ships and they were alive, and each ship had like a girl, like a little lolly character that was associated with it or something, and it was like full CGI. But it was the CGI was really off, especially in the very beginning, and it threw me off for the show. So I can understand like how that would work. It's interesting because a lot of the like, especially video game like movies or adaptations that they do CGI with is actually really good, and especially actually I would say even better than certain Western
Hmm.
CGI movies or shows. But I guess they don't have it in terms of like long term, like for like a full show rather than just a movie or a video game cutscene.
Right.
But
Yeah, I know there's a few game studios in
um,
Japan, like Capcom. They do the Resident Evil
mhm.
CGI movies that are out. They do a bunch of CG on those, where it's fully CG. And Square Enix, obviously they did like the
Yeah.
Final Fantasy movies. Those, I mean,
hmm
if Rookie Rocky had that kind of budget, I think more people probably would watch. I feel because it's
Yeah.
coming from a name brand studio like Capcom or you know Final Fantasy guys. So it's like it's yeah, but CGI. I mean, it came a long way from first episodes. I mean, the one thing I think that was a little weird was like you said, the movement of the characters. And oh, I
hmm
think I know the show you talk about. It's Arpeggio. That was the first
Yeah, that's what
CGI
it
show.
is.
That was like one
I was
when
like,
the big explosion of CGI shows were starting to come in was from that show. That
hmm
even that show felt it was all the characters were like puppets basically. I didn't like that how they moved, how they kind of
Yeah.
just that just felt weird. I was just like, just. But then Bubuki Buranki came by, sort of the same thing, but it got better gradually. You can definitely tell where they
Hmm.
either got more budget, or maybe they got more animators, or that maybe the technology for them improved. There's a lot of things you don't really know behind the scenes, I guess, how it came about. But I also was wondering, like, why the reason to go to full CG. I was wondering that too. Like, there's so many other studios that can do hand drawn mech animation, like Gundams and all those. It's like why
Mm.
the choice for CG is always one question I would always ask the producer of this, like why not traditional 2D like everyone else? But yeah, I guess it
Yeah,
made it stand out. I guess I don't know.
I guess maybe it was just an experiment project because, to be honest, it didn't really need to be CGI.
Mhm.
When you're one of the shows we already brought up was Knights of Sidonia. That actually, I think, benefited from CGI in terms of like the space scenes and the ship scenes. Those did well with that. Here, huh, I don't think
Right.
it needed it.
Right. Yeah. So don't you could use the CG for the I guess when they're zero gravity scenes too, because in zero gravity you're not floating around as much as you are kind of still a little bit. In it when these sort of pictures of astronauts, they're not exactly waving their arms around like crazy. They're just it's very slow movement. So yeah, it works for CG as far as like a space setting, like you were saying. I mean, it makes sense why you would be moving awkwardly in space because there's obviously no gravity. So well, it's like
Hmm.
Buranki Buranki there on Earth, or a Earth-like planet. I guess it is Earth, I guess, but it's weird how they. But but yeah, I guess get a break from all that. But so I guess story-wise, what did you think of the story from beginning to finish? Did it, leave anything out? Was there any plot holes? I mean, every show has plot holes, but what did you think of that overall story?
Okay, so um, the going from first season to second season. The first season, I felt like the pacing was a little wonky. Like they were trying to find where their pacing was. It went slow in some parts and fast in some other parts. Um, and I thought the world was actually pretty good. The world was good. The villains like that they started off with were pretty good, and I liked how they evolved those and how they went from you know this is what we thought the villains were to this is actually what they were, and how it didn't stay stagnant. Um, then the second season came around, and that was much faster paced. And I felt that was both a good thing and a flaw of the second season. Um, it had well, okay, so like the first season had a huge amount devoted to Azuma and his character and his friends and all of that. And I thought that was fine. You introduced his character, but he's not a very deep character. He never has been a very deep character, and he's sort of your shonen hero 101 sort of character, and it's I think we kind of saw as much as you basically could with him in season one. And I felt like season two, they kind of hinted at the end of season one, oh, we're going to concentrate more on the sister now that we've done the brother. But it felt like actually they gave Karuko like the shaft halfway through because
Yeah.
like she was an important character, and then somewhere in there they're like, well, you know what? Instead of concentrating on her, let's go back to Ozma again. Let's go back and see what he's doing. And I'm like, nobody cares about Ozma. There's nothing left to see with him. And it really wasn't. I felt like they kind of shafted her character. They had promised some things with her and never really fulfilled those, and it just ended up falling a little flat in certain parts in that regard. Second season I felt did worse with the characters, at least some of the characters. Um, Whereas the first season did work better with the um characters because it had more room to breathe in. I
Right.
think the first season was like 26 episodes or 25 episodes, and the second season was only like 12. And you could feel it. You could feel how they were rushing through it. They had introduced a huge amount of characters because they had all these new teams and all these new um Bubuki and Buranki and all these plot points they were trying to bring in, but a lot of them didn't really have time to do anything. They were kind of they're there and then they were gone, and I felt that was a detriment to the second half.
Right. Yeah.
The first,
Yeah. I carry on that. Especially the Taiwanese team they added. They kind of didn't do much. They were just kind of throwaway
yeah,
characters. Just to give Karoku something to do.
hmm right. It just the story elements I think were pretty good. I did like some of the elements they brought in the second season in terms of what the Bubuki and Baranki really were, and that they were like these aliens that just sort of happened to happen upon Earth, and that they're they kind of melded with Earth or something like that. I think they were trying to be a little too ambitious, like later in the end when they were trying to say, "Oh well, it's the circle of life, and we're connected, and blah blah blah." And it was like, okay, now you're just getting into generic, really generic territory. Um,
Right. Especially when
like
you
the
got a guy at the end who's gonna reshape the world in his image. Yeah. That plot's been
oh,
done to death in almost every
oh
medium.
wow,
Comic book movies. Everything. Yeah.
yeah, that the whole ending really fell apart because like I said, they were rushing through the rest of the story, and then you just have Guy. Like he started off as such a promising character, but then later, as you go through and you find out what he really wants and what
Mhm.
he's really trying to do, you're like, oh, okay, so this is basically just villain 101, and he's just your typical mustache twirling villain than you thought he was, and they just bring out this huge monster at the end for them to stop, and
Right.
it just kind of falls flat in that regard with just finding out what he is and what he wants and what they have to do to stop him, etc., etc.
Right. I figured my thought in him was, well, he's just gonna be like manipulating all the teams to fight each other. That way he's can, I guess, be the last man standing, while everyone else kind of defeated themselves. Like these teams took each other out, and like Karoko, he kind of like almost corrupted a little bit. That could have been an interesting plot with him putting his sister versus her brother, and they could have fought more than just the brief times they did. Like that would probably been more interesting on Guy's story, but yeah, him turning him into just this generic villain who just is like every other villain from most shows we see, who just wants to destroy the world, rebuild it, all this stuff, take over the universe, and it's like, not really that interesting. And then the giant robot at the end, and just, I mean, it was cool seeing the team ups. I mean, like you said, even the first season, the villains, the reveal we learned that they're not actually bad, they're just trying to prepare the new team for what's to come. And when we learned that, it was cool seeing that. But Guy's just like, he's not really that
Yeah,
great of a villain.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just felt like there was so many ways they could have done like something better, and a lot of the characters just didn't end up doing anything important. The American team, I felt like, okay, you're
Mm.
just there to be there. You're not doing anything in here. The British team were there for like a few seconds and did like something for a few seconds. Interesting enough, most interesting team was the Russian team, and they died like in the very
Right.
first like 3 episodes,
And
three
then
or
they're
four
like
episodes.
kind of like mean to everybody, and they hate everybody. And then they finally start becoming an actual team. You're like, oh wow, this team might be actually the best team ever, better than our main team. And but like you said, they don't really get much chances to do that. They get killed in the same episode. They realize that they're being used, and they want to change. They get killed off. So it's a very big disappointment on that team that they could that team had promise. Yeah, they could have came in at the very
Hmm.
end and saved everybody. And maybe died then to make a selfless sacrifice. Would have been a better scene for them, but no, they have to go out on screen and no one knows who really did it. It's like that's kind of sucks. That, like you said, the other teams are kind of throwaway, but the Russian team, you actually start feeling bad for them, and after you
Hmm.
realize that they've been used, and the main guy even realizes he's being used and wants to change, but it's too late. You know, like that kind of
Yeah,
sucked. I hated that.
it was just disappointing. One thing I also thought was like a lot of the plot points really didn't go anywhere. The whole thing with I forgot the little girl's name, but the one with the little right hand, and
Right.
she's the her issues with Fedora guy and how they kind of came together in the beginning, but then they kind of dropped it sort of like halfway after they introduced it.
Mhm.
And so they interacted like maybe once or twice, and it was like, okay, so you brought that up for just to finish that arc, I guess, and then just end it because it didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
yeah, it
one,
didn't go nowhere like you're saying. It's just like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't kill your dad. It was my fault. And then she's like, I know she's not okay with it. Obviously, she says in the series that she's not ever gonna forgive him, no matter what happened, because it is it's still his fault technically. But yeah, like you said, that story didn't go nowhere. And then I think the most interesting story was the girl with the twin swords and the I guess the other guy on the team, the evil bad guy.
yeah,
How
that
they
didn't
had
even get
that,
brought up.
how they had this like romantic relationship sort of that implied that they may have dated a few times, gone out a few times, and I mean her story was kind of interesting. That point where she learns about the weapons and what she's got to do. And I mean her story is cool. The girl with the sniper rifle, she got an interesting story. How the guy, she just sees the world differently, and he's the only one that kind of helps her. Her parents don't really help her, but that guy comes along and helps her. But so yeah, a lot of characters have cool backgrounds. They don't do much with it, unfortunately. Like even
Yeah,
Karuko's background is like, it's not. It's sad, but it's not there yet. I don't think.
yeah, I don't think a lot of them got a chance to breathe very much. Um, it was really kind of all over the place. Um, we have the mother coming back.
Mm.
I thought her whole thing was like ridiculous. Um, with the whole, it was really literally like this whole Deus Ex Machina thing that came at the end. Like, oh, well, you're actually sort of this chosen one who is a mix of two peoples. You are the actual child of the things,
Right.
the aliens and the humans, and that's why you never lose your powers, and that's why you become beyond human or something like that. And it's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
really?
But why Kuroko can interact with any Bronchi, why she can use any of the Bronchies, because she's generally like she's like I realize like you said half Bronchi technically is what they're trying to say, or maybe she may be a full Bronchi in the human form. It's very weird how they, like you said, the mom kind of. I feel like she always pops up when the stuff gets too real. Like she pops up when the kids are in too over their heads, whatever. Like she just pops up and is like, okay, I got this, and it's like, okay, let her do it, and then she basically fixes all their problems. She kind of helps them, like you said. She's the reason why they get to survive most of these fights.
I I never liked her character. Well, I liked her in the very beginning when they first introduced her, but then as you learn more about her character, I just didn't like her. I still didn't like her by the end. They
Mhm.
try to like explain away like what all the stuff she did to Ryoko at the end by saying, "Oh, well, she was with her the entire time and she felt everything she did." I'm like, but she
Right.
didn't know that at the time. She only knows this at the end when she realizes, oh, I can go back in time and put myself in those shoes and become the brain of her machine, and so I can feel everything she feels and stuff like that. And I'm like, but you
Well,
didn't know that when you were doing all that stuff to
right.
Ryoko.
It's
You
almost
didn't
like
know that when you imprisoned her for like 20 years.
right.
I mean,
With that, and it's like it's kind of damage has kind of already been done to Ryoko at that,
yeah,
at that point in time. She's been through I don't know how many lifetimes, but but yeah. I mean, speaking of Ryoko, I think she might have been the most interesting character of the series. I think she had the most interesting background. Learning about her past
yeah,
and learning about how she rose to power was interesting. And it was emotional, sad because she was basically imprisoned for that many years that you're saying. She didn't get to live life. She's been basically locked away her whole entire life. She's been, doesn't really have friends that she can rely on besides her own team. So yeah, I think she's probably maybe the best thing to come out of Bubuki Buranki is just that character, and especially when she fights, she gets, has the expression and she gets into it, and just all around, I think most unique character of that series compared to everyone else.
yeah. I really liked Ryoko. I felt she also didn't get much to do in the second season. She
Hmm.
spent most of it like either sleep or in bed or something. Um, She got to do something at the end, but it wasn't really a huge amount. um, I in the end, I did find interesting what they kind of did with her character. I did think she like forgave Mikawa a little too easily. She's like, oh, now you're. I just realized you're my best friend, and you did all this for me. I'm like, really? No, no. But yeah, I felt like her whole team kind of got slightly shafted this in the second season. I mean, most of her, her four like men didn't really do anything. They kind of just piloted the ship, and that was it. Um, they were just
Right.
on the side, and I kind of wish they had gotten the chance to do more. Yeah, it just they didn't really do anything. They kind of sat on the side.
Right. It was kind of like just Ryoko, and then they had the girl that can shapeshift or whatever she could do, maybe illusions, whatever. She was probably the only other one on that team that actually did anything to help them, besides the Fedora guy bringing the airship. But that's about it. Everyone else kind of just because Karako would have got her head cut off if she didn't take the other girl's spot. So it's like she did something, but yeah, overall that team didn't do much besides Ryoko, who I guess again the highlight of the series. My close personal favorite would probably be Karako just because of her personality, because that show needed someone like her a little bit, maybe not as much because Alzima we had to deal with him for it. First season he was just boring. It's like, and then you had the American guy come along who kind of injected a little bit of energy to the series, and then you jump to season two of Karako, who just is that's all she is right now. It's just straight up energy for the first couple episodes, but then you more about her later. But yeah, I think she might be my other favorite because she just gave a different perspective on the show. It's more of a character who's like he's just in it for different reasons, but I mean we do learn that she's in it because she wants to find her parents, obviously, and get back with her family, but yeah, do you have a favorite character that maybe not Ryoko, maybe someone that maybe you
Um,
liked a little more? Or no?
let's see, a favorite character. Uh, that's kind of hard because I mean, all the characters were okay.
Mhm.
There was not really a big one that came out. Because Ryuko was cool, and
Mhm.
most of her group was kind of cool. Um, hmm. I guess my favorite other than her would actually have to be, I still can never remember his name. The Fedora guy.
Right. Yeah.
I really liked his character. I kind of liked the challenge that he had going through and what he was really trying to do and like how he actually was sort of the backbone of that team and how he was trying to help the girl with her, in regards to her father and her Bubuki kind of trying to use her and he I liked his character I guess probably the most of the other characters other than like Miyoko.
Mhm.
um Other than those I guess that's kind of it. The other characters are they're not the same but
Right. Yeah.
they're okay.
Yeah. You get a kind of vibe from each team that most teams are kind of identical as far as how they act, and obviously the showing aspect, the whole friendship is power, the whole thing is throughout most of the
Yeah.
teams anyway. Most of the teams don't learn it that way, and the Taiwanese team kind of had to beat their leader up for like get through his skull that we're not your toys. Just realize we're human
I just
here.
thought that was
You
just
know.
so ridiculous.
Right? Yeah, that team's a little weird. How he's basically just molesting the girls. They're like, oh, you know what? We're tired. And they walk away from him. He's just like, I'm confused. Like, what did I do wrong? Like, he did wrong. But yeah, his arc was kind of dumb. I didn't like him either. How he finally realized,
Yeah.
oh, we were a team now, and it's like, not really. You had to be knocked over the head a couple times to figure it out. But yeah, I mean, I was gonna say least favorite character. I'm not sure. I think we probably would both agree Ozma maybe might be the worst.
uh,
I think he got
well,
dumber in second in the second season, especially when he got in the car with Guy, and he's just like, I'm gonna take a ride from a perfect stranger. Like, wow.
well, to be honest, I actually would have forgiven a lot of what they did with Ozma if they kind of would, because okay, the ending of the entire series, which is the very final episode,
Yeah, that was actually
I
good.
thought
Yeah.
that they actually did a very good job with that. At least mostly good job with that. In terms of they didn't actually end it on like a happily ever after note. They went with a more bittersweet like direction in terms of showing this is what happens to people, the heroes after everything's done with and you try to return to normal life. And it's like, it's not all, happiness and, good things. And it's
Mhm.
actually kind of depressing, especially for those who really don't have anything other, else to do after all the stuff that they've done. What else do they do? And I thought that was really cool with Asuma's character because he basically didn't really have much to his life before all this stuff went down. He was just trying with his dad, and his dad was training him to do other stuff with the Bubuki, and that's basically all his life kind of surrounded. And now he doesn't even have that. His parents are both his parents are gone, and his sister is like staying somewhere else, and so it's just him, and he's just by himself, and none of his friends are like interacting with him really because they're
Mhm.
all trying to live their own lives and or they just don't think it's safe to be connecting with others. You find out Ryoko lost her memory. She's now amnesiac, so she doesn't remember him at all and doesn't know anything about her life. She lost like all her powers,
Mhm.
lost her abilities and everything. So he's by himself. And it's just like this really interesting, like to see him sort of break down and go into this sort of depression. And I really would have been interested if they sort of turned him into what Guy became, which was basically this villain
Uh-huh.
who couldn't take life after, having lost the powers that he had and, like losing basically his purpose in life. And for him to realize that what everything that guy had kind of taunted him about and warned him about was
Mhm.
actually kind of true. And I actually would have forgiven him a lot if they actually went in that really dark direction and just had it sort of end where he's kind of become sort of a or villainous character. And like, I would even have saw a third season if they had kind of did something like that.
Mhm.
But they kind of switched it up and say, oh, well, we're still your friends and friendship rules and et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Yeah, and they kind
But
of did that, thing at the end, and they teleported away, and they're. It was weird, but the weirdest part of the episode, I mean, I like the whole tone. The weirdest part was probably Ryoko popping up at the end, like floating with with everybody. I'm like, that's a little weird, and he's trying to hold hands with her. But I think it was all in her head that he was imagining at the time. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a strong ending. Like you said, rarely do we get to see what happens after the hero has defeated the final boss of any, no matter if it's fantasy world, futuristic world, or whatever. We don't get to see that. Like superhero anime in
mhm,
general, like that too, where they've defeated the boss, and now it's like, well, now I gotta get a job and go back to the normal life. And it does show you that, yeah, it does suck without these giant robots walking around. And he does realize that maybe Guy was right all along. Like maybe he was onto something. I mean, maybe
mhm,
his approach wasn't the right way of doing it, but he was onto something about if this all goes away, what's going to become of your life. And yeah, Ozma
mhm,
does realize that near the end when he's in his room by himself. I'm like, yeah, I did feel kind of a little sorry for him. Like, he obviously has like no purpose in life after because his whole life revolved around the Buranki. So it's like, yeah, that does suck for someone who just doesn't have another thing in their life to look forward to. It's like, it was
yeah.
depressing.
I mean, yeah, like his first goal in season one was to find his mother, and then
Mhm.
he fulfilled that, and then it was to get back to the island, and then he destroyed that, and then it's like then to get back with then to find his sister, and he did that, and it's like okay, well now you don't have anything else, so what do you do? And it's like all he has left is like, oh, you go back to school, and it's like really school, and it's like you're I think he's like they have to be like 17 at this point, 17 or
Right.
18. So he's almost at like graduation age anyway. And he's like, okay, now I have to suddenly go back to monotonous school for like 2 years and somehow catch up on everything else because he hasn't been in like regular school for like ever. Um, and he's, it's like you feel like, oh, I'm beyond all this. I've
Mhm.
gotten beyond all this. I've actually been in the world and have lived life. Why do I have to go back to this?
Mhm.
And you really do like understand like how he has nowhere to go. It's like he hangs out with the others, but even they have moved on to their whatever they're doing in life, and he just has nowhere else to go. And you're like, okay, I can see why. You had a guy who was like a megalomaniac who just said, he had money, but who could just buy a
Mhm.
house and just, you know, plan stuff from there because you don't have anything else to do. You might as
Right.
well.
Exactly. Yeah. That and Azuma has they don't really outright say it, but they always keep hinting at it. He has feelings for Yoko, which a lot of people felt a little weird because obviously she's like triple his age if she didn't wasn't stuck in this time loop thing she's in. And they always hint towards that those two have feelings. So it's like even if he wanted to get closer to her, he can't because she has amnesia. So it's like even that's like an aspect of life you can't really pursue. He's like, oh, can't do that because she won't really remember me. So I can't get hang out with her. And then you have the implied that the guy with the spear and the twin sword girl are dating. I guess it's not. They kind of hint at that
That
they're
was weird.
they've been together or whatever.
That
Which
was weird to me because it was like, wait a minute, you kind of already hinted that she still liked the other guy like earlier
right,
in the series, and they never even got a chance to talk to each other the whole series. It was like, where happened to that? And
right.
then like all of a sudden you have these two who are sort of together, but really makes no sense because they were basically he kind of kept trying to hint to them being together like the whole time, and she was like
Oh
no
yeah.
like the whole time, and so it was like, okay, why did that happen? With Ryoko, it's kind of hard because I think if she does get her memories back, she's
Mhm.
not going to be interested in him at all
Right.
because she's basically replacing their mother in terms of
right.
she promised. I mean, she promised like, oh, I'm gonna, she promised Migawa, oh, I'm gonna take care of your kids, and she not only promised her she's gonna take care of her kids, but she's what like the one who named them. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's just not gonna work with them
Yeah.
being
That
together.
I always thought it was funny when the Kuroko would make the comments about that, because she was like the audience character saying what we were thinking. She was saying the same thing like, if you like her, that's like ew, gross. That. And she makes the comment too. She named us. She's practically like a second mom to them. So it's like that she was, even she has bigger disagreements about it too. I thought that was always funny, just throwing it in there that even Kuroko can see that no, that's a bad pairing.
I even thought like the scene where like she announces, "Oh, like I was the one who named you and Asuma," like was like a really weird scene because you when you see that scene earlier and you have her stop her in the hallway and you think it's like something really important because they're in the middle of this big fight and Karuko's like running to go do something and Ryoko's finally gotten up from her bed to do something and it's like
Mhm.
you're thinking like it's something really epic, like she's trying to tell her like something, some way to destroy the thing or something. But no, it ends up being like she just stopped by to say, I was the one who named you guys. I'm like, really? That's what you got up to say in the middle of this big firefight? Okay, fine,
right.
whatever.
Right.
It
Yeah.
just kind of was weird.
And with both of them having such strong personalities, you would think they'd, have more to say than just that. Like headbutting each other or getting into a fist fight because both of them, again, they're very just strong personalities. In the same room, I could see them doing that, but I guess maybe Karako's not that. But they always do reveal Karako is not a very good fighter. She's just all talk and no action. She thinks she can do all this, but when she gets her own robot by herself, she does. But as a team leader, no, no, she wasn't very good at that. But I'm trying to think what else we talk about. It's like overall, I mean, I think the story felt a little weak. Characters are okay. And the ending, I think ending is just a really great episode. Like you said, we get to see what happens after the heroes, what they're doing
Mm,
afterwards, and the comedy bits of like who's dating who now, since there's no war or fight, there's no robots, so it's like it's kind of funny to see how they wrapped it up, and like you said, ended on a like lighthearted note. And as far as like
yeah.
another season, I could see them doing one about maybe like down the road, but with the world they've fixed sort of, and there's no Bronchi being made anymore, it's like I don't know what a season 3 would do, other than maybe like OVAs or something.
Yeah, um, my final thoughts are basically like I thought the final episode, well, I wasn't expecting it because like the battle episode felt like it ended, and
Hmm.
then they had this ending episode, and I thought that was really good in terms of showing that everything is not fixed after
Yeah.
you finish the final battle. You have all these characters who now have to sort of live in hiding in a way, like they can't actually show their real powers. You have Azuma, who basically has lost his purpose in life. You have Ryoko, who can never go outside of her own house again because everybody's going to try to kill her, which I thought was really interesting. How they kept showing like everybody keeps trying to assassinate her,
Oh yeah, yeah, I've
and
seen that. The holes in the walls and yeah, I didn't
you
know about, I forgot about that. Wow.
she's like stuck inside of her own building for the rest of her life, and especially now that she lost her memory. And it's like, how do you explain that to a person who, has no idea who they are? Like all of a sudden, oh, you have stuck in this building because everybody hates you. Well,
Right,
why? I don't know.
right. And by the way, you're like 50 something years old. You know,
Yeah,
it's
and
cool,
you're like
whatever.
50. Like at the same time, you look like you're 13, but you're actually 50.
Yeah.
And it's like, where did all that comes in? And you have, I think, of the shape changing lady. I think she's now together with the
The te
sniper girl's uncle.
Right, yeah, the teacher guy. Yeah, she's pregnant now, I guess. They're yeah.
She's having twins. It's like, okay, that happened.
Yep, I guess. Yeah.
Didn't even see actually, I have never really even seen them really talk to each other, and it was like all of a sudden, oh, they're together now.
Right, they seem like two
Uh,
characters that wouldn't really hook up, but I guess when there's no fighting, there's nothing else to do, I guess. You just
what
gotta
else is there?
hang out with your friends or whatever. But yeah, but that was a little weird. That little added at the end there, like, maybe down the road they can do something where oh they have kids, they're twins, and there's another series. But I'm like, I don't think they're getting a series out of this. Maybe like a movie or something down the road, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see anywhere where else it could go unless they, like you said, do another next generation thing,
Yeah,
or if you have another villain that comes up or something like that. But oh no, I can't see anything else really happening in the series. All in all, the series as a whole was okay. I think the world was very interesting. The world that they created, the themes that they had was pretty interesting. The action was pretty good in terms of the fighting between the different Bubuki and or Buranki, and I thought like some of the story was a little bit better in the first season, at least towards the end and the beginning of the second season. But
hmm,
then it kind of sort of fell apart both in the beginning of the first season and in the end of the second season. Um, and some of like the characters were a little lacking here and there, but oh, for the most part, it was a pretty good series. It was not great, but it was good.
right. Yeah, I think if they maybe condensed them maybe to like the whole series into like a movie form, it would probably flow a little better as far as like action goes and story elements. I mean, there's some that are just like characters that are like, I don't really care about this character or that character. But yeah, if they maybe combined everything and put it in one big movie, it could probably work later. And yeah, story wise, like you said, it's got some strong points, some weak points. The fighting for me was cool. I like just I think being surprised. I think early on learning that this was a giant robot anime, not just a anime where it's just kids fighting kids with their weapons. They're actually giant robots, and learning that was pretty cool. It was a big surprise because even like openings and trailers never revealed that there's giant robots in this anime till I think episode 3 or 4. We finally see the full Buranki assemble and they fight, which is the Voltron element was kind of interesting. But I guess the last question: would you recommend this to anybody to watch? I mean, I kind of recommend maybe a marathon if you're gonna watch it. Watching it week to week at the time was kind of hard because again, like you said, there's strong episodes and weak episodes. So
Yeah, I would recommend it to certain people. Like, if you're really into sort of seeing another fantasy world and sort of getting into um, you know, uh sort of like almost Super Sentai, but not to
Mhm.
mecha,
Mhm.
um, would be kind of cool to see, especially if you liked this like sort of CGI animation. And even if you know don't particularly, I would still give it a chance. Um, just be sure to note that some of the characters are going to be a little flat, but you know the rest, the themes of the series I think were pretty good, and the action in the series was pretty good. Um, and I think, so you would enjoy it.
Right, yeah. And the last bit of thing I remember reading on was I think after the series kind of wrapped up, there was an announcement that I think all these CGI studios were merging into one company. So
Oh, wow.
so we should expect to see more of these, full CGI shows. At least not maybe make one company, but maybe just gonna collaborate more. Which makes
Mhm.
sense. I mean, if you have four studios that they specialize in CGI, why not pull from each other and this take techniques from each group and like make an anime out of that. Just each group can kind of contribute to a certain aspect of the CG. So maybe we might see more CGI shows in the future. I definitely could see it getting better. I mean, this Bubuki Buranki is more best example of how far CGI has come since then. I mean,
Mhm.
it's cell shaded and it still looks anime like. It's not fully, gone over to video games yet, but yeah, I'm curious to see what else they do with this technology and how people, if they're willing to accept it. That it is the future. That will be, eventually we'll have these like virtual reality experiences with anime, where it's you watching anime through a VR headset or something and it's CG obviously. But yeah, I'm kind of curious when what they do next. I mean, it's the next full CG. I think Anjin is the only one that's out now. That's the new current CGI. I haven't really watched,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, I heard good
That
things.
that was okay. I think it actually I feel like that was a little bit worse in terms of CGI
Uh,
than Varanki was. But yeah, that was okay.
right. Any final thoughts? Anything else to say?
Not really. I mean, it's a good series. Its story was a little sloppy, but it has some really good points and some really good action to it.